Well, if I asked the demons of the deep where silver was going this year, I say it's going for at least a double. It's going to be up to record highs and beyond. I think that not just because of it's my investment, but there's a lot of things heating up that are telling me that they're going to have to do a lot more easing. China's going to have is doing a lot more easing. They're doing a hell of a lot more easing, and that's actually being reported in the Western major media. They're doing everything. No, they're heading in. They probably are at a hard landing already, but they're doing everything they can to soften the hard landing. So what's that going to do? Like I pointed out before, they're spending their own money. And as commodities are super low right now, now in the case of like steel, they're like so loaded up on steel they don't have any more room to store it. But in the case of like gold and silver, don't take too many warehouses to fill that, to buy up all the global supply of silver and gold, right? So they can always buy that stuff. But what China's going to do is not just totally concentrate on the metals. That's just like any businessman would do that had a lot of extra cash. You can actually just look for businesses that are producing money. And what China's going to do right now, for instance, is looking to buy up, say, Beechcraft aircraft in the United States. Because it's going to be an income producer, So that's the wise thing to do. So they will be spending their money. They're not going to be doing lots of exports to Europe because Europe is down. I think the United States is down pretty bad too, more so than they say. And there's not many places in the world that are, and actually I think Australia is being affected by this very much because they sell a lot of commodities over to China. And if the commodities prices are down, that's bad for the Australian economy. So there's a slowdown everywhere across the world. Now, I personally think the QE's coming up. Now, China's doing its own QE. What's going to happen in Europe is going to be a combination of like QE, easing, and austerity at the same time. Now, I saw this article. This is very good. Now, this guy is not, this is the News Unit blog spot. I want to highlight this. He's not a silver pumper and dumper. I don't know. He's critical of those people. I am too. Now, a lot of times the silver pump and dumpers are like really little guys. They don't really know. They don't know what's going on. They're just following the bigger people that are telling them what's going on. So I don't want to fault those type of people, but I'm going to use my own little demonic senses, and they work pretty damn good because I like when I just use my own senses, and I'm usually right. And I don't really think about money. I just think about winning. That's the way I think. I don't even think about money. I just think about winning. A lot of people think they want money so they can just go, oh, I got this. I don't even think about that. I'll burn it before I play that game. I would. So, it's just like a pachinko ping pong game, That's all it is. Now, he says on here, watch for a possible silver breakout above 36 by August 27, 2012. Now, this is not his writing. He's just got some information, possibly rumored, and he states that in his article that it's coming from the bullion and coin dealers expecting a major silver spike in August 2012. I don't know. That doesn't seem to jive with what I think, but I think things are heating up pretty soon. I think silver might go down a little bit first, but I think it's going to be flying here probably pretty soon because of various reasons. Like I stated, like them fighting over the budgets and all this kind of garbage, which is going to bring up gold and other things that can happen with Iran and all this type of stuff. But it's also, he's stating in here, by the end of the year, it's expected to be above the $75 level for silver, right? He says it's not coming from the original pump and dumpers and all the people are out there. So I think this is something to maybe point out to a few people I have that maybe watch my channel. Go check out the News Unit for various stories and information on this. He's not going to dissuade you or try to make up your opinion on something because he's not somebody that just pumps and dumps his metal. Now I want to point out something else about the pump and dumpers on silver. Very common sense. Very, very, very important. This is how it works with anything, damn it. The really smart money is not going to waste their efforts, time, and all this kind of crap trying to convince a bunch of lemmings to get into on a really good deal when it's super low because it looks like crap. They're not going to do that. It's like they're not going to do you a favor. Period. They're not going to tell you this. And it's not, I'm going to tell you something about education versus shrewdness. Shrewdness counts for 100 times more than education. And a lot of times the most educated people are very shrewd, but they use their initials and all their education and the things they can impress you with as ways to screw you over. Just remember that. You know, unless you want to go trust every bit of advice you get from J.P. Morgan or whatever the hell it is, fine, go ahead. Now, I don't even dislike J.P. Morgan, but, you know, use a little common sense. Education isn't everything. A lot of it's shrewdness, playing a card game. So, the thing is, they're not going to go around wasting all their time saying, you know, like way back when silver was $4 an ounce. Oh, go buy silver, go buy it. It's the best. They're not going to waste their time. You know, they're not going to waste their time because it's too difficult of a market to sell because most people just don't get it. It's like trying to beat them over the head with a hammer and they still don't get it. They're just dumb. What you got to do is as the market goes up, and you got a proven track record, that's actually when the market starts getting dangerous. And I talked about bubbles before. When you have this proven track record, oh, look at the demand curve, it's going up. Look at all the money we made. We made twice as much money in 3 years, 2 years, whatever. I got rich off of this, I got rich off of that. And that's when they all come out. You know, of course, the more initials, the more degrees after their name, the more they got a great sales pitch. They all say this. They all know this. That's why they get that shit, so they could sell. It's a scam. But you can't sell to the average Joe unless you've proven, look how much money I made. That's the game. So they're not going to tell people, right? And that's another reason they're probably all shut up right now. They don't give a damn. It's too much of a hard sell. They're not going to bother with it. But right now, silver, actually somebody's... I'm laughing because I'm thinking of these people I know that got like gobs and millions with zeros after the millions, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like 50, 100. And I'm thinking of where they got their money invested, and I'm laughing. Because I'm evil. I don't give a shit because they're evil too. But let me put it this way. After the demand curve goes up a while, they actually pick, you know, you could sell to the average Joe, hey, look, you know, I'm a Series 7 and I know how to invest, and here, look at this, and, you know, we've been doing this for a long time. We made so much money for our clients, and blah, blah, blah. And that's when the average Joe jumps in there. And then and the average Joe tells the other average Joe, and they go, oh, yeah, go to this guy. And meanwhile, it's halfway up the curve. It's, you know, it's 60% up the curve. It's up 75. And that's when everybody's jumping in it, right? And then they got it up to a fever pitch. Smart money, who bought it way back when at the bottom of the curve when they weren't saying shit, they pull out. Typical. Works in everything. It works in real estate, too. Now, what surprised me in real estate was how stupid a lot of the very smart people were. Man. I mean, when you're on a hook for loans that, and you're like, well, I don't want to discuss this too much, but you can get upside down pretty bad. No matter how much money you have, you can get upside down pretty bad. You know, even like, you know, even talk about, I don't know, I'm not familiar with Donald Trump at all, period, but, you know, there was times he wasn't looking too good, too. But, you know, those type of people, they got good senses, they're shrewd, and they're like a cat. They always seem to land on their feet. And they keep going. So that's the way it goes with them. But like my point is the fact that most of these people are shut up right now. I wouldn't even want to tell the freaking people with the big bucks to go buy, you know, millions of dollars worth of silver right now. I don't care about them unless I'm getting a percentage out of it or something. They could do what the hell they want. I know what I'm doing. Now, on this Netdania chart, which I think a lot of these charts are a bunch of boring bullshit, but you know, it's very unusual. Like if you saw like this kind of curve, this is a weekly chart, but if you look at, say, from March 1st 2012 all the way through, say, June, this is highly unusual for silver to make all these very steady downturn like this. I expected and I was wrong, but I expected silver to go down about 24, 25 by the end of April, and then boom, spring back up. That's when they would announce QE. So yeah, I know I've been kind of bullish on this QE garbage for a while, and I actually part of that is from listening to and watching and reading stories from out there about QE, 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 right? Well, the Chinese are doing QE. We know that, and that's a major portion of things too. Now, if they're doing a lot of stuff to stimulate the economy, like I says, yeah, they're not going to just go buy a bunch of silver and gold, but when they're doing a bunch of things to stimulate the economy, they're going to probably do things to prop up the building and real estate market. And that's the one place that's totally trashed. Like the real estate and building market is about 50% of the economy in an industrialized nation. You know, it is. It's that much, directly or indirectly. So there's a lot of industries that are fed off building and real estate. That's why I know that industry is actually more important than the metals. You know, that industry went down. So just like I said before, the metals can go down at one point in time when it gets up in a bubble. But they're doing stimulus. So I think that makes it, and you got to figure we're in a global market on metals. We're not in a U.S. European market. We're in a global market. And actually most of the buying pressure on the metals is coming from Asia. So if they're doing major stimulus, that's going to be bullish for the metals. So, and J.P. Morgan, all that stuff about J.P. Morgan, I know it's probably true, and it's probably true about price suppression of silver by the government by dumping stockpiles and all this garbage. But you do notice that when the commodities go down, silver goes down. I mean, it's not a perfect one-to-one correlation, but the commodities are all looking pretty bad right now. Even though they sprang up a little bit in this last couple weeks, copper prices are down. Like if we look at coininflation.com on the nickel, that used to be 111% melt value. Now it's down to about 96% melt value, and that's 75% copper. The point I'm saying is they called copper Dr. Copper because it's a very, very good measure of the overall economy, which is lousy. That's another reason I'm seeing QE coming around the corner because, well, in reality, we got a little bit of global QE coming on because China's doing a lot of it. They don't want a hard landing. You know why they don't want a hard landing? Because their leadership's going to be hanging from nooses. That's one reason that keeps the Chinese population in general from not revolting, because they're living under a pretty bad situation under there. I mean, as long as you have enough people with enough money, but if you have a lot of people, like you saw what happened with student riots when they raised the price of food and stuff like that, right? In China? Well, if you start tightening down the screws too much, they have a flat-out revolt, so they're going to do a lot of easing. Now, that may cause, I don't know what's going to happen with the United States. But I think Ben Bernanke's pretty smart. He's a lot shrewder than we give him credit for because he's holding off on QE. I know he's been criticized as Helicopter Ben and all this stuff, but he's been holding off on QE for a long time. And I think that's due to a lot of criticism he's had over the years, very severe criticism, not just from Ron Paul, but from a lot of people like him. And, Ron Paul's a focal point, but at one point in time, they're going to have to, start doing some easing. And, but like I said, I don't think China's going to be buying as much bonds anymore because they're not doing as many exports. We know the Baltic Dry Index is down a lot more. And if they're not buying as much bonds, our own government's going to be buying more bonds of its own. So, in effect, the U.S. dollar is just turning to funny money a lot faster than you think. It's not being reflected in these prices just yet, but I think it's coming up pretty soon. That's why I wanted to point out the News Unit article and wherever he's got this kind of information from. Watch this blog, and there's some. I smell, in my opinion, I think silver's going to be up more than double. It's going to be up to a record high by the end of the year. It could be $50, $60, or $70. It's going to be that high. Because once things start heating up, it doesn't take nothing. It just starts taking off a life of its own. And like I said, that's when you see the silver pump and dump crowd out there. after it has a track record. You notice they all start coming out when it was about $35. They're going to come out when it's $35, and a lot of people are going to remember when it went to 37 and it crashed, and I'm not sure if I should buy. And then it's going to go to 40. It's going to go to 45. I'm not sure. And then, they're going to keep pumping up the frenzy. You're going to get people to start buying at 50, and they're going to be holding at around 65, 70, or whatever the hell it was when it crashes. Again, so I'm guessing on that number, but that's what I'm thinking where the next point's going to be. So that's how it plays out. They're never going to, the pump and dumpers will never waste their breath trying to convince people on a real bargain because it didn't start yet. It's like you have to show it like, oh, this thing's been making money. They have the same way they do with real estate, same way they do with metals. Oh, this has been making money. I used to laugh sometimes when I see even, I remember the real estate some years ago. How many experts out there, how many appraisers and all this type of stuff. It's all based upon, recent sales values and all this type of stuff that they would say what something such and such is worth, and it's like it's the same thing with the metals. It's going to work the same way. But how many experts out there were wrong? All of them, because they're too busy looking at the tree bark. You got to skip back and look at the forest. And what's going to happen here is, looking at the global situation. I said a few things in other videos, but QE is about the only option they got. China's already doing it. Now, China's a big customer in metals, right? It's not the only thing they're going to invest in. They're going to buy other things, industries. They're going to buy industries in the United States. They're going to get into the banking system in the United States and all this other type of stuff. But, it's coming around the corner very soon. And J.P. Morgan's not going to be able to hold it back. And I don't think they're trying to hold it back. The only thing they try to do is make money. So if silver's going up, they're probably going to be in a long position maybe, for all I know. But the only thing I'd have to really watch for at the big curveballs is the CME and raising margin requirements. But I don't know. So like I said, I'm just going to sell in pieces when I see some record highs.